To continue, we're going to look at reading files. So we're going to start out with some text files that I have. So I have a couple of text files here, and the first thing we're going to look at is the email list. So I just recently created these, and the email list, as you probably can tell from the title of it, is a list of emails. So if we do cat, which means concatenate, it'll read all the contents of the file we're looking for. So put cat email list. And by the way, when I'm typing and I type part of a word and I hit tab, it'll complete it for you. Unless there's other files in there that have similar names, and you have to probably type it out a little bit more before you can hit the tab. So as you can see here, as my list of emails here that I typed up. So as you might notice, there's a couple of repeats in here, and I did this for a specific purpose. So the reason for this is that you're going to sometimes come across files in which somebody's going to tell you that they want to get a list of emails and to remove all the ones that are repetitive and get a unique list. So there is a way to do this. So basically you would still do the same thing, and you would pipe it, and what we're going to do is that we're going to sort the list and then do a unique. When I do that, the list is smaller. Now maybe you didn't see it, but there's a way to confirm this. Another argument that we can really use here is doing like a word count and -l's list. So there's 20 emails in this list. So if I go up, and by the way, if you hit up and down, you can go to previous commands. It's really useful. You can do that in Discord too, by the way, I believe. Or at least if you hit up, I believe you can go to the line that you just wrote and you can make some edits. Anyways, really neat tidbit. So when we do it this way with the sort and the unique, it cut out 2 of them. So there was 2 repeats in that list. That's one unique way of using sorting. Another thing that you can do is, let's say that to try to up this, the boss that tells you that he wants to get, for you to go through this list, and he only wants a username. So he doesn't want the domain like @gmail.com or @acm.org. He just wants the usernames. So there's also a way to do this. So we use something called cut, and you do a -d, which is delimiter, and the delimiter, we're going to make it the @ symbol. So that's going to basically be the breaking point, and we want to read to the left of that @. So we have to put in quotation marks, and then we do -f for field, and we want to do the first field. And when we do that, we get a list of usernames, which is really handy. But again, you might come across that same problem where you have, well, there's 2 David Velez's in here, so you want to make it a unique list. So you can sort it, and then do a unique, and it sorts it for you and gets rid of repetitive entries. Also, as you probably guessed, if you do F2, it'll look to the right of that, and it'll give you all your domains. So if you need a list of domains, you can do the same thing. And of course, you can sort them and make them unique. So let's say that we want to know just the end, right? So we want to know org, com, and all that. So we can set the delimiter and make changes there, and then read to the right. So that's F2, right? So there you go. You got your list. You can make this, of course, you can sort it and make it unique. But now we got a problem. So we got 2 coms here. So how do we get it to where, okay, like someone wrote it in caps, we just want to be able to read this list and get the unique entries without basically to ignore the case that it's in. So one thing you can do is you can look at the manual for unique. So man unique will get you into the manual of that particular command, and if we take a look here, there is a -i argument that ignores differences in case when comparing. So this is really, really handy. So if we just do a -i, there we go. We got our list that we wanted. So these are just a couple of examples of reading files and getting patterns that you're looking for using cut. There are, of course, other commands out there that look for just a specific pattern that you type down. So if we did email list and we wanted to look for the word David, you can use a command called grep here. You pipe it a grep and you type the word David, and it will pull all the entries that have David within that list. So this is yet another way of searching out for patterns. So anyways, probably curious about that the other text file that I have called Halo. So this is Beyonce's song Halo, which according to an article I read has it's one of the most repetitive songs. And so we're going to take a look at it and see if that is true. So if we cat the file, we take a look, we can see the lyrics of her song. Now, just like we did before, we can cat the file and we can sort it, and we can, or like before we do that, let's get a word count and list it out. So there's 69 lines in this song. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to do the unique, or sorry, you have to do it in the right order. So if you do unique sort, and you do the word count on that, it's still going to be the same because these are not sorted. And so if they're not sorted, they won't be able to find the unique lines. That's just how they have it constructed. So you got to do sort unique, and we can take a look at it, and you can see that the song has been condensed by quite a bit. So if we do the word count on that, we get 34. So it looks like her about 35 lines were cut out, and so that's pretty much over half the song that is repeated in some way. And as you can see there, this is a pretty neat tool to use to just get the unique entries that you're looking for in a file. And there's multiple ways of reading files. In each Linux box, they're going to have different commands like vi and vim, which basically is glorified vi, which is a text editor. So if we do like vim and we go into Halo, let's say that you're a music producer and you're saying, okay, you know what, there's probably too many of this. I can feel your halo and I can see your halo. So I want to delete these lines. So of course in text editors you can delete the lines that you need. You can delete multiple lines to where it kind of makes it kind of quick. But we'll take a look into editors later, so it's just something for you to know that you can use vim or vi to look through a file, or you can use view. It's pretty much the same thing, but in this is read only, so you can't really make any changes to it. Another one that you can use is more, and you can use so it starts from the top, and if you hit this space bar, it basically does like a page down and it reads the file. So the problem with more Halo, if you start going down, you can't really go back up. So there's only one way. So a group of developers didn't really like that, so they created something called less, which is kind of an ironic thing because less is actually quite a bit more code. So if we take a look at this, we can basically use the up and down arrows, which we couldn't do on more. So you can go down, you can go up, and that's pretty much the difference. And by the way, to get out of that, you hit Q for quit. You'll find that a lot of times you use Q to quit out of a file. I think on our previous video I showed you the command head. It works the same way. So if I do head halo.txt, it takes the top 10, and there's a command called tail, which you would imagine it is the bottom 10 lines. And cool thing about this is that you can pass like a number to it. So you can say I want to read the top 15 lines of this file. So you can do that. There's 15 lines there, and you can do the same thing with tail. So there's the bottom 15 lines of Halo. So there's also, I'm going to show you a little test here, because there's also a really unique command that you can use. So you got two files in here, right? So I'm going to do a quick thing here. So I'm going to make a copy of the email list and call it email list2.txt. Now I'm going to go into the second list, and I'm going to double the line. So I'm going to do something really quick here, which I'll show you how to do later. So I just made a copy of everything and I'm going to write it. Okay, so if I do a cat of email list.txt, we got the 20 entries. Cat email list2, we got 40 lines. If we wanted to see the difference between the two, and let's go ahead and make a slight change to email list.txt. So I'm going to misspell my name. So I'm going to put, you know what, I'm going to put Valles. Alright, and there's a command called diff, which finds the difference between two files. So if I do this, and I put two file names after diff, it basically finds the difference. So one of the differences is that, as you can see here, it found the Valles, but also it found that there was 20 extra entries that were different from the original file of email list. So if you wanted to see the difference between two files that are, let's say that you made an edit and you put it on a different file, you can do a diff on them and find the differences between the two. By the way, this is something good for you to know. When people sometimes like cheat on programs or on papers, what they would do is they would use a diff across all files, and if files come up where there's no difference between the two, then they will suspect cheating, basically. So let's do a quick example of that. So I'll just make a copy of this email list, and I'll call it email list 3. So I go up here, change this to 3, and I do a diff, and nothing comes up. That's an indication that these two files are exactly the same. So this is a very useful command when you're trying to find a cheater.